Okay, so welcome dear students and viewers in this 13th lecture on Python programming. And today in this class, as you can see on the screen, we are going to discuss about recursion. Okay, I will tell you about recursion, recursive function, and different aspects of recursion, why it is actually needed. And at the end, we will see a recursive program to compute sum of first n natural numbers. And try to understand this concept very carefully, because there are going to be several programs based on this recursion, this concept of recursion. Okay, so to begin with, recursion is nothing but a programming technique, okay, in which the function calls itself either directly or indirectly. So by now you have understood the concept of function very well. You know what is a function, what do you mean by calling a function, and what do you mean by a calling function, what do you mean by called function. So all these concepts you know very well. Now it's time to understand the meaning of recursion. So when a function is calling itself, then you call it as recursion. Okay, it is not calling any other function, it is calling itself. Okay, either directly or indirectly. What is directly, indirectly, that we will understand in a moment. But let's first see what is recursion. So let me write the definition first. That a recursion is a programming technique. Recursion is a programming technique in which a function calls itself either directly or indirectly. Now, why you are actually doing it? Why you are making a function call itself? Okay, because whatever examples we have seen till now, that a function calls another function, but why in this case a function is calling itself? So that's the thing to understand, and we are making it do so because we want to actually divide a problem into sub problems. Okay, so in many situations you can think of a situation like this, that a problem is made up of sub problems. Okay, a problem is made up of sub problems, so a problem can be defined in terms of the problem itself. Okay, and that is what the recursion is all about. So a recursion is basically based on the concept that a problem can be defined. Okay, a problem can be defined in terms of problem itself. Okay, why you are doing is, why you are writing a recursive function, why you are doing recursion? You are doing it in order to divide a problem into sub problems. Okay, in order to divide a larger problem, okay, a large problem into sub problems. All these concepts you will understand eventually when we will write several programs, when I will tell you about different concepts one by one. But at the beginning you must understand that you are essentially doing recursion so that you can divide a large problem into sub problems, and then you can solve those sub problems and finally get the solution of that particular large problem. Okay, and in the process what you are actually doing is that you are defining the problem in terms of problem itself. Okay, so it might seem confusing as of now, but you will understand it as the lecture progresses. And the first very thing is to understand it, that it is a programming technique in which the function is calling itself. Okay, it may be either directly or indirectly. Now let's understand how a function can call itself. Okay, let's see one example, and then I will tell you what is calling directly and indirectly. Okay, so let's write diff. Suppose I am writing a fun1, I am taking the function name as fun1. Okay, and then I am writing suppose print hello, and then I am calling the function fun1 itself. Okay, so that is what I mean by calling the function itself. Okay, that you can see that this is the function header, this is the function body. Okay, and inside the body you are calling the function fun1 itself. You should have called any other function, but here what you are doing is that you are calling the function itself. Okay, and this is what we call as direct recursion. Okay, this is what is called as direct recursion. There is other version of recursion, that is indirect recursion, that I will tell you, but this is direct recursion because you are calling this particular function fun1 directly inside the function body. Okay, and now what will happen if you call this particular function? if you, I mean, in order to execute this particular function body, you need to call this function from the main. That you already know, that after having written a function definition, there is no meaning of it unless you call it from the main. So from the main, when you are calling it, then this function body will get executed. And how it will get executed, just let me tell you briefly. That first it will print hello, and then you see that again the same function is getting called. Okay, so when you are calling the same function, what will happen? Again the hello will get printed, again this function will be called, again this hello will get printed. So the hello will keep printing. Okay, it will never, the control will never come outside of this function. Okay, the control will never come outside the function, and it will keep calling this same function fun1 again and again, and the hello will keep getting printed. Okay, but this is not a sensible way to use recursion. I hope you are getting this, that if you write a recursive function like this, okay, although it is supporting the concept of recursion, but there is no point of writing a recursive function like this. Okay, I will come to it later on, but for time being, just understand that this particular function fun1 is an example of recursive function, because it is including a function call to itself. Okay, now this is direct recursion because you are calling this function fun1 directly. Okay, the function is calling itself directly and not indirectly. Okay, now let me run this, and it will get into an indefinite loop. Okay, indefinite because there is no termination condition, there is no base condition. I will tell you what is a base condition, termination condition, but for time being, it is not going to, the control is never going to come out of this particular function fun1. It will always keep executing inside the function body, and it will keep printing hello only. Okay, so let me run this particular program, and you can see that the hello is getting printed on the screen indefinitely. At the end, it will terminate, giving some error message. Okay, and so you can see that at the end, since it was an insensible recursion, there was no meaning of it, so it is giving an error that maximum recursion depth exceeded while pickling an object. Okay, so maximum recursion depth exceeded, maximum time of calling this particular function has been exceeded, and that's why it terminated eventually. Okay, so this was an example of direct recursion. Now what is indirect recursion? So indirect recursion can be something that you will not call this function directly. So let me call a function fun2, and let me define this particular function fun2 here. Okay, so let me define this function fun2, and inside the fun2 it must include a call for fun1. Okay, now you just try to understand it, what's actually happening, that inside the fun1 you are calling this particular function fun2, and inside the fun2 the fun2 is calling fun1. So indirectly the fun1 is calling itself. So what's actually happening is that fun1 is calling fun2, which in turn is calling function fun1. Okay, so fun1 is calling fun2, and fun2 is calling fun1. So eventually the fun1 is calling itself, but in this case it is not calling directly, but instead it is calling indirectly. Okay, so this particular type of recursion is called indirect recursion. Now this is the one important thing to understand is that here only one particular function is there in between, but there can be many function in between fun1, this one and this one. For example, here only fun2 is there, but situation could have been something like this, like def fun3, and then okay, so let me write this one itself. So the situation could have been something like this, def fun3, and then this fun2 is calling fun3. Okay, and fun3 is eventually calling fun1. So in this case one more function is coming in between, and that is fun3. Okay, so there can be many function between this fun1 and fun1. Okay, then there can be many functions between fun1 and fun1. For example, in this case there are two functions, fun2 and fun3. So what is happening? Fun1 is calling fun2, fun2 is calling fun3, and fun3 is eventually calling fun1. So this particular recursion is again an example of indirect recursion. Okay, so again there could have been a fun4 also, there can be another function fun4. Okay, so this can go up to multiple levels, but eventually this fun1 should call fun1. Okay, then only it will be a recursive, otherwise it won't be recursive. For example, if it was like this fun2 was calling fun3 and fun3 was not calling fun1, suppose this situation was missing, then in that case it won't have been recursion. Okay, it would have been simple function call. Okay, so just don't get confused. eventually fun1 should call itself. Okay, in this case it is this will be an example of indirect recursion. Okay, so let me erase all these things. This is not an example of direct recursion, this is actually an example of indirect recursion. Okay, this is an example of indirect recursion. Okay, so what is recursion? A recursion is a programming technique in which a function calls itself either directly or indirectly. Now you understand what is the meaning of direct and indirect recursion. Okay, so let's go to the third concept, and that is meaning of insensible recursion, that you just saw it. I just demonstrated you the concept of insensible recursion. So there are basically two types you can understand. There can be a sensible recursion and there can be insensible recursion. So what is the meaning of these two, that you will understand now. So for example, here you have fun1 print hello, and then it is calling itself. Okay, and then you calling this function fun1 from the main. Okay, and now you try to run it. So I just told you that it will keep on printing. So first thing is that this is an example of direct recursion. Okay, this is an example of direct recursion. Okay, so this is direct recursion, but this is not sensible. Okay, why it is not sensible? Because it is it is never terminating. Okay, it is not terminating. Okay, it is only printing hello multiple times, and finally it is getting terminated because of recursion limit exceeded. Okay, recursion depth exceeded. Okay, but it is not getting terminated because of any particular instruction. Okay, it is not, there is no termination condition mentioned inside this particular function body. Okay, so that's why it is not a sensible recursion. It will keep on printing hello. Okay, so let me demonstrate it to you, and you can see that it will keep printing hello, and finally it will terminate giving an error message. Okay, so maximum recursion depth exceeded. Okay, so this is not an example of sensible recursion. Okay, now what is sensible recursion? Sensible means that this particular function call must stop at some point of time. Okay, not because of this recursion limit, recursion depth exceeded. Okay, for example, in this case, what is the error message that you are getting when you are writing an insensible recursive code? Then the error message that you will be getting is that maximum recursion depth exceeded. Okay, so this is the error message that you are getting, maximum recursion depth exceeded, if you write an insensible recursive code. Okay, now what is sensible recursive code? The sensible means that your program your recursive code should not terminate because of this particular message. Instead it should terminate because of something called base condition. Okay, your recursive function must terminate because of some condition mentioned inside the function body, and not because of this particular maximum recursion depth exceeded error. Okay, so now let's try to understand the meaning of sensible recursion. And when it comes to sensible recursion, in fact you will be writing only a sensible recursive function all the time. There won't be any insensible recursive function, but let's try to understand what do you mean by recursive function or a sensible recursive function. So on your screen you can see I have written a recursive function to compute sum of n numbers. Okay, previously you were doing it using the for loop, using the iteration. Okay, but this time we will not be using the iteration method. Instead I will be demonstrating you the recursive function to compute sum of n numbers. And now on your screen you can see that here it is not only containing a function call to compute function. Okay, it is recursive. Okay, why it is recursive? Because it is containing a function call to itself, and it is direct recursion. Okay, but there is one more thing, and that one more thing is this base case. If n equal to 1, return 1. This is also called base case or the termination criteria. Okay, termination condition. So there are different names used for it. One is your base case and another is your termination criteria. Okay, so depending on which one you prefer, you can use either of them. But here you can see that what is this base case telling? The base case is telling is that if the value of n is equal to 1, then in that case we have to return 1. And now what is this one? This is your return statement, and this is also called recursive case. Okay, this is called the recursive case. And so here the function will not be executing indefinitely. Okay, it will eventually come to a stop. And why it will come to a stop? Because it is containing a base case, it is containing a termination criteria. And what this termination criteria is saying, that if the value of n becomes 1, then in that case you have to return 1. Okay, why it is so? Now let's try to understand that what happens when you are trying to compute the sum of n natural numbers. Okay, so the function that I have written is compute n. Now you are trying to compute sum of n natural number. For example, let's say compute 3, as I have taken in this example. Now how you can think of summation of n natural numbers? Can you write like this: 3 plus compute of 2? Okay, let me write in terms of words. Okay, so you have to compute sum of n natural numbers, or suppose 3 natural numbers. Okay, sum of first 3 n natural numbers. Okay, now can you think of so what is it essentially? What is sum of first 3 natural numbers? 1 plus 2 plus 3. Now how you can further elaborate it? You can further elaborate it like, can you write it like this: 3 plus sum of 2 natural numbers, isn't it? Now how you can write sum of 2 natural numbers? Can you write like this: 3 plus 2 plus then sum of 1 natural number. Okay, now what is this sum of 1 natural number? This sum of 1 natural number is nothing but 1 itself. Okay, so this is nothing but your base case, this is your termination condition. Otherwise it would have been, you would have been gone writing like sum of 4 natural numbers, 3 natural numbers. But when you are going to stop, when you are going to stop when you encounter this 1 natural number. Okay, so when it becomes 1 natural number, eventually it will become what? 3 plus 2 plus 1. Okay, so these are the two things that you have to think whenever you are asked to write a recursive function. You have to think of two things. One is your recursive case. Okay, one is your recursive case and another is your base case. Okay, what is base case? Base case is nothing but when your function is going to terminate. Okay, I told you that in case of recursion the function is going to call itself, okay, either directly or indirectly. But when it is going to eventually terminate, it will not keep calling indefinitely. Okay, it has to eventually stop at some point of time, and when it has to stop, that is called your base case. For example, in the case of sum of n natural numbers, what is your base case? The base case is that when the value of this value of n becomes 1, then you have to stop and that value will be 1. This is your base case. And now what is your recursive case? The recursive case is that the sum of n natural numbers will be n plus sum of n minus 1 natural numbers. Okay, that is what essentially you have to write in the recursive case. For example, here you can see that what is sum of n natural numbers? It is nothing but n plus compute of n minus 1. Okay, so if you are able to think of these two cases, if you are able to think of recursive case and if you are able to think of base case, then your job is done. Okay, so whenever you are asked to write a recursive function, okay, we will do some more examples today, and in every case you have to think of only these two things. You have to first write the base cases, all the termination condition, and followed by the recursive cases, that is what will happen if the base case is not reached. Okay, so these two things you have to keep in mind, and you can see that this is nothing but so you have to always think of the generalization. So what is sum of n natural numbers? It is nothing but n plus, okay, so let me write the generalization for it, that sum of n natural numbers is nothing but n plus sum of n minus 1 natural numbers. Okay, that is what you are, and in this case I have named this function as compute. So what is this compute function? This compute of n is nothing but n plus, okay, compute of n minus 1. And you can see that in case of recursive case, your function is returning this particular value n plus compute n minus 1. And when this compute n minus 1 will stop, it will stop when this particular value becomes 1. Okay, so when n becomes 1, you have to stop and that particular value will be 1. Okay, it will become more clear when we will write more recursive functions for different cases, for different situations, and then it will become more clear to you. But anyway, let's see the execution of this particular program, whether it is computing sum of three natural numbers or not. So the answer should be 6. Okay, and you can see that the sum of the three natural numbers is coming out to be 6, which is perfectly fine. Okay, n could have been any value, but for the purpose of illustration I have taken it as 3 in order to keep it simple. Okay, now there are different perspectives of looking at recursion. How this particular function, how this particular program is actually getting executed, that you need to know. Now you understood that whenever you are writing recursive function, it has to comprise of two things. One is your base case and another is your recursive case. That's perfectly fine. But when you are writing like this, okay, if you are not to write recursive function for if you were to write a iterative version, how would have been written? Let me write an iterative version for the same. def compute n, okay, and for I in range, okay, 1 to n plus 1, okay, and you have to compute the sum. So you just take some variable, sum equal to 0, and you have to essentially do what? Sum plus equal to I, and then finally you have to return sum. Okay, now if you call this function print compute, and then you can pass some value, let's say 3. Okay, now if you run this particular program, it will give you the same output, it will give you 6. Okay, you can see that it is also giving you 6, but this is not a recursive function call. Why it is not recursive? Because inside the function body you cannot find a function call to compute. The function should call itself directly or indirectly. So there is no function call to the function itself. It is an iterative version. You are making use of for loop. So it is not a recursive function, it is iterative version. Later on I will tell you the difference between recursion and iteration, but for time being just let me tell you that you could have done it both way. You could have used an iterative version and you could have done it in a recursive manner also. Okay, so this is essentially called iterative function. Okay, since we have made use of for loop, and this is iterative function, it is making use of iteration, and this is your recursive function. Okay, so these two versions you can use to compute sum of n natural numbers. Okay, let me write here n, it is actually natural numbers. Okay, so I hope you got the difference between these two, that in one case you are going to use the for loop, in one case you are using iteration, and in another case you are using a recursive function, that is you are calling the function itself. And then if you are writing a recursive function, you have to think of these two cases, base case and recursive case, and your job will be done. Okay, now let's come to the execution part of this particular program, how it is actually getting executed. On your screen you can see that the execution part. So you are taking the value of n equal to 3 and you are calling this particular function compute 3. Now as soon as you call this particular function with the value 3, what will happen is that this particular function body will start getting executed with the value n equal to 3. Now when the value n is equal to 3, the control will come here, it will check that this particular condition is not reached. Okay, so in that case it will go to the else part, return n plus compute 3 minus 1, that is compute 2. Now what will happen? Will it be able to return to the main? Definitely no, it will not be able to return to main, because this particular compute 2 value is not yet available. It will become what? It will become compute 2. So this particular value is not available. So what it will do, that it will not be able to return. Instead what will happen is that again a function call will be made, but in this particular case the value of n will be 2. Again the function will be called, but this time as you can see on the top that the value of n is 2. Let me tell you again that this particular function call is not able to return anything. Okay, it is still computing something, it is still computing the value. This return statement was not able to return. Why it was not able to return? Because it was containing another function call and the value of this particular function is not yet available. So again a function call will be made, but in this particular case the value of n will be how much? It will be 2. Now here n is equal to 2, again it will check this particular condition is not met. Okay, so it will come to the return part. Again it has return n plus compute. Okay, so let me write it like this. first time this will be 3 plus compute of 2. Okay, now here when you are going, then it is compute n is equal to 2. So what it will be returning, essentially it will be returning 2 plus compute of 2 minus 1, that is 1. Okay, so this time it will be, again it will not be able to return because this particular value is not yet available. Okay, so what will happen, again a function call will be made, and here you can see on the screen that the value of n is now 1. Now this particular condition, this is your base case, this is your termination condition, and you can see that in this particular function call the base case has now been reached. Okay, and so it will return the value 1 to its previous function call. Okay, I hope you got the concept that finally when it was compute 1 and the function call was made, then it didn't go here, it didn't go in the else part, instead it was able to return a particular value, and that value was 1. Now when what will happen, will it return to main? No, it will not return to main, it will return it to the previous function call. Okay, and the previous function call, how much it will become, instead of compute 1, now it will be ready to return the result, it will become equal to 3. Now the result, this compute 1 value is available, so it will now be able to return this value 3, and 3 will come here. Okay, so how much it will become, now it is able to return, all this value has been computed, so it is able to return to its previous function call, and how much here it will become, it will become 3. So this will eventually become 3 plus 3. Okay, so let me slide it a bit. Okay, so now this value is available, and this value is equal to 6, and finally this value 6 is returned to the main, and the value 6 is printed. Okay, so I hope you got the concept, I hope you got how the execution is taking place, that all the function calls are not able to return at the same time, instead more function calls are being made, and finally when the base condition is reached, it returns to its previous function calls, and when all the previous function calls values have been evaluated, then a final value is returned, and so this 3 plus 3 equal to 6 is returned to the main, and finally it prints the value equal to 6. Okay, so the 6 gets printed on your screen. So this is how the evaluation of a recursive function takes place, this is how the execution takes place. Another perspective to look at this particular thing is that what happens is that whenever you write a recursive function call, or whenever you're writing a function, then it is evaluated in the form of a stack. Okay, in previous class I had taught you stack, you are aware of what a stack is. So whenever a function call is made, then that particular thing, that particular function call is pushed on a stack. Okay, so in your program, as you can see that you have written print compute n or compute 3, and as soon as you make this statement, this particular statement is pushed on a stack, and now this as soon as since this is a function call, so another frame will be pushed onto the stack. And what is this frame equal to? This frame is nothing but compute 3. It is again a function call. Okay, now what this will this particular frame be able to return? No, again it is returning 3 plus compute 2. Okay, I have not written everything, essentially it is returning 3 plus compute 2. So as soon as this return statement is encountered, since it is a function call, again a frame will be pushed onto the stack. Okay, and this particular frame is compute 2. Now again this frame will not be able to return something, it is computing 2 plus compute 1. Okay, so as soon as a function call is encountered, a frame is again introduced on the top of the stack. Okay, and this frame is how much? This is nothing but compute 1, and this compute 1 will finally be able to return 1. So whenever as soon as it is returning 1, this particular frame will be removed from the stack. Okay, so this will be removed. Okay, and now what did that frame return? It returned actually 1. So this will now become 3, and as soon as it is able to return, as soon as its execution is over, the function call is over, execution of the function is over, this frame will also get deleted. Now what it had returned? It had returned 3. Okay, so it had returned 3. So now how much it became? It became 6. So eventually it was able to return, and this execution was over, so this will also be deleted, and finally this 6 will be printed on the screen. The compute 3 will become 6, and this print compute 3 will become 6, and it will be printed on the screen. So these are the two ways of looking at the recursion. One was this way, and another was in the form of a stack. Whichever way you are comfortable, you can understand, but essential idea is that the function call will keep on getting made unless a base case is met. As soon as the base case is met, it will be returning to its previous function calls, and finally it will be able to return to the main, and the final value will be printed on your screen. Okay, so this is how the execution of recursive functions take place. And one more thing I would like to tell you, that as I am repeatedly saying it, that whenever you are asked to write a recursive function, you have to always think of two things: the base condition and the recursive case. Okay, the base case and recursive case, you have to always think of these two things. If you are able to think of them, then you will be able to write your recursive function. Okay, so what are the components of recursive function? So let me write it here. So there are two components: one is your base case and another is your recursive case. Okay, now let's come to this one, the last one. I am going to give you another recursive program to compute x raised to power n. Again, you have to think of two things. So you have to think of two things: one is your base case and another is your, so you have to write a recursive program to compute x to the power n. Okay, so for to compute x to the power n, you have to write a recursive code. Now how will you write? You have to always think of the base case first. So what will be the base case? That if n equal to 0, then what will be the value of it? It will be equal to let me say it as some t. So let me write in the terms of function. Okay, let me give it a proper name. POW xn. Okay, power of x raised to power n. X raised to power n. So or x POW and x raised to power n. So let me rename it like this. So this is your particular value that will be returned by x to the power n. And what will be this x POW n? Okay, so that you have to think. Now if n, what is your base case? The base case is that if the value of n becomes 0, then x POW n will become 1. Isn't it your base case? This is your base case. Okay, another base case could be that if the value of n is 1, then x POW n will be equal to x itself, isn't it? So if the two base cases will be n equal to 0 and n equal to 1, what will happen in rest of the cases? What will happen in rest of the cases? In rest of the cases, this x POW n, and in terms of, let's say, okay, so let me write x POW. In rest of the cases, can you write it like this? It will be x into then x POW and x comma n minus 1. Because why you are able to write it like this? Because of this particular thing. Okay, can you write x to the power n is equal to x into x to the power n minus 1? Definitely yes. So this becomes your recursive case. These two are your base cases. Okay, so this is your first base case and this is your second base case. If n is equal to 0, then x POW n. Let me add one more thing, x comma n, since it is a function basically. So what will be x POW x comma n? It will become more clear because it is taking two parameters. Okay, so if n is equal to 1, then x POW x comma n will be 1, and if n is equal to 1, then x POW x to the x comma n will be x. In all other cases, what will be the value of x POW n x comma n? It will be x into x POW n x comma n minus 1, isn't it? Why? Because of this particular relation. So this is your recursive case. This is your recursive case, and these are your base cases. This is your base case and this is also your base case. Okay, in all other cases this particular thing will be happen, that is this particular recursion will hold. Why? Because of this particular thing, that x to the power n can be written as x into x to the power n minus 1. So if you are able to figure this out, if you are able to write these base cases and recursive cases, now your job is done. Let me try to write this particular recursive function. So x POW n. Okay, and what I will do is that it will be taking two parameters, x as well as n. Now if, so first you write the base cases, that if n equal to 0, then in that case return 1. If n equal to 1, then return x itself. In all other cases, what you have to do? You have to return x into x POWN. So this is your recursive call, and in that you have to pass the parameters x comma n minus 1. Okay, let me use elif. Okay, so this is your particular recursive function to compute x to the power n. You can see it is very simple. It is only, you have to only think of these two things. Okay, you thought of the base case and then you thought of the recursive case, and now you just call this function. Let me call this function and print the returned value. So print x POWN, and you just pass some value to it. You pass 2 to the power 2 comma 3. Now what will be the output? It should be 8. Okay, it should be 8. You can see that the output is 8. It is working perfectly fine, and the important thing is that you are able to write a recursive function for it. Okay, so this is your base case. This is your base case, and this is your recursive case. Okay, so that's it for today, and your assignment is that you have to write a program, write a recursive function, write a recursive program. Whenever I am writing recursive program, that means you have to write function also and the complete program. Okay, that's why I am using the term program. It should comprise of a recursive function essentially. That's why I am writing program. Okay, so write a recursive program to check if a string is palindrome. Okay, this is your first assignment, and another assignment is that we have to compute the factorial. Okay, so let me make the second one. It is a bit tough to think. Let me see if you are able to think it or not. And another program that I am giving you to find out factorial. Okay, so you just do these two assignments. Okay, you think of the base cases and recursive cases, and you try to write the recursive program for these two situations. Okay, and so that's it for today. I hope I covered all the topics for this class, and we are able to understand the meaning of recursion, direct and indirect recursion, then what is insensible recursion. And insensible recursion essentially does not contain a base case, a termination condition. Okay, and then the different components of recursive functions are base cases and recursive cases. And then we saw a program to compute sum of n natural numbers, and then we understood the concept of recursion in terms of stack, and then we saw a recursive program to compute x raised to power n. So that's it for today.